Hello and welcome everybody back once again to the Screen to Speed 2026 series. We are back here for round one at Oulton Park. We're going to get into it with the Foster's layout as well, a little tighter, twistier, windier, and shorter version than the Oulton Park that you might be used to in their GT style of racing. However, it is going to be an absolute slipstream fest and an exciting one at that. But before we get into this tonight, I'd like to take a moment to thank everybody that is a part of these streams. Of course, our production team that is behind the scenes here at AK Esports. We also have our new sponsorship with Regadget. If you are looking for a PC, an awesome gaming PC at an extremely budget price, head on over to their website. You can find them for around $1,200 for their gaming bundle, $950 as well. Extremely affordable. Highly recommend checking them out. And also, of course, before we get into this, we are live on TV. Yes, indeed. We are on Roku over at Esports Edge, as well as eClutch over in the MENA regions. And a big thank you to all of our partners as well that are going on for us, and a thank you to all the drivers joining us here tonight as well. I'm your host, Mike Noss. Joined alongside me is going to be Jackson Lambros as we get into what is going to be an absolutely thrilling race one. Jackson, we did a little bit of these in the practice sessions for the Init Esports server. In case you are curious, we have a Discord at Init Esports. You can head on down to the description if you are on the YouTube and find that link. And we do some practice races. We had a lot of fun. It's a slipstream fest. The cars are extremely pacey. Really only need 2 gears around this circuit, but all the way around there's some good passing chances, Jackson, and this is going to be an absolute thriller.
I think the immediate knee-jerk reaction here, Mike, is this is a track combo, a track-car combination that fosters good ethics in terms of racing wheel-to-wheel. A good mix of medium and low-speed corners, a little bit of opportunities, as you mentioned, to draft, but you look back in the history books in the real world, guys like Niki Lauda, James Hunt, even some guys here in America like Scott Dixon racing in the IndyCar series, all of them have had their teeth cut in this exact track car combination. So for these 10 ladies here joining us today, going to be a phenomenal test of their skill early on in this season.
Yes, indeed, and that's a great mention as well. Of course, this is our all-women's series as well, so if you are interested in that, head on over to our website. It is, again, down in the description, or if you're watching on TV, you can head on over to initesports.gg. That is where you can find a link to all of our different championships, including, but not limited to, Screen to Speed, as well as our Team America that we have coming up as well. Before, though, we get into all of our calendar stuff, let's talk a little bit about tonight. Formula V's on Oulton Park in the Foster's layout. We have 2 races that we're going to be going head-to-head with. It's going to be 2 15-minute races, so a short little stint. Good sprint race, Jackson. This is going to be an exciting one. Why don't you talk us a little bit about the track?
So again, this Foster layout, for those of you a little bit more used to racing this on iRacing or in Assetto Corsa, we're skipping the Shell Oil corner. We're just taking that right where you have that long sweeping left-hander along the beach. And the immediate reaction for some of you would be saying, oh, that's just taking out a huge part of racing. What that really does is turns this into an oval, albeit you're going clockwise instead of counterclockwise. And some really sharp 90-degree right-handers gives some really great racing opportunity. And nothing fosters that better. As we mentioned, you see what I did there with the Foster circuit, the Formula V. Open wheel, a lot of people dub it as the Formula 5. Very, very low horsepower, very low cost of entry. But again, beloved by Club Series racers, always inhibits some phenomenal wheel-to-wheel racing. Gonna be a good combo.
1.6 miles as well for this circuit. It's going to be a short one, but again, a short but quick race indeed. We do have, of course, our other series that we offer here as well throughout Init Esports, and that, of course, is going to be our Team America Championship. That is open to everybody in the America region. If you are in the America in general. Next up, Red Bull Ring in the GT4s. That's going to be March 1st. After that, we head over to the next Screen to Speed race. That is March 15th over at Okayama in the M2s. You notice a trend for the Screen to Speed races. It is all free content, and we encourage all new drivers to get involved with that as well. And if you are looking to get involved and newer to iRacing and trying to get some practice, head on into the server. We do have a lot of practice that we offer, and we can help get you up to speed a little bit. But with Team America, of course, that is going to be our Talent Scout event for the Team America roster. Red Bull Ring GT4s, it's not about winning one race necessarily, it's about how you perform in all different categories, all different makes, models, types, and tracks, similar to this one here that we have, Oulton Park, a track that has made its debut throughout a long time of history. You mentioned, Jackson, that it has played role throughout quite a few different championships. It was founded back in 1953 and has pretty much been unchanged since 1954. Located in the heart of Cheshire, England, it is going to be a 43 meter of elevation, about 115 or 140-ish feet of elevation. So all in all, lots of rolling hills, lots of tight corners, but in this one, lots of high speed corners that we're going to be seeing as well.
I always joke we kind of call this the original street circuit, if you will, because you look back in history, nearly every single British track of this variety originated from some former Army base or Army Air Corps base being converted into a circuit. This, again, a little bit the same here. The Oulton Estate, a manor house, formal garden surrounded by, as you mentioned, Mike, this farmland just on the outside, but was converted, of course it was, during the Second World War into a staging camp for the U.S. Army at the command of General Patton before the Normandy landings and D-Day. But this area remained almost vacant for 15 years after the Second World War. It became a gathering grounds, if you will, following the war for just some very unorganized club racing. And you look to the turn of the century, a couple of decades later, the legendary Palmer family and Jonathan Palmer, the Motorsports Vision Group took ownership of it and has transformed it into one of the most notable venues and what many consider, aside from Silverstone, to be the real launchpad of British motorsports. British Touring Car Championship, the most notable visit here, as well as British Superbikes, British GT, pretty much the biggest and fastest cars you're going to see here, but formerly British Formula 3, Formula Renault, definitely your good fill of open wheelers as well, having their rounds here. But back on the Foster circuit, we finally go riding with your Formula Vs. We're on board with the German Jessica Wasser, just going through Old Hall Corner and down the avenue towards Denton's. And again, this is where we would normally take the left-hander to Cascades towards Shell Oil's corner, but we're taking the shortcut here. This immediate hard throw on the anchors, using as much curbing as we want. We'll rejoin it just here into the Knickerbrook corner. We'll actually go around the outside here, so no slowing down through the chicane. Up the hill we go once again through Clay Hall. And again, no downforce, no aerodynamic bit on these Formula V cars, just relying as much as possible on these four tires and trying to understand what the suspension wants and how we can please these cars. Quick flick of the right through Druid's corner, working our way towards the Warwick Bridge. There it is, using as much curbing and runoff on the outside without going in the grass. You can take two off there, but you gotta really be careful. Back on the anchors again, a little bit down the hill, a little bit of camber into Lodge Corner. Again, look at Jessica using as much of that red and white runoff as possible, then going shallow over Deer Lap. Very quick, very high commitment laps here on the Foster's layout, Mike.
Brilliant lap there. Jess Wester going to be one of the favorites, I would imagine, for tonight. And immediately there we have Sophie going up to the top of the timing charts with a 1:11.0. Lucia Tosi behind, and many more drivers here going to be crossing the line shortly following. This is a very slipstream focused track, so if these drivers can find somebody out there, a little friend, a helping hand, potentially they can find themselves gaining quite a lot of time. We see as well Katharina Gleiser getting in there. Lucia Tosi still down 4/10 now. I expect a little bit out of her as well, and some unknown names joining us here. This circuit, you can see a big lockup there for Pluig as she tries to get it sent into that very tricky right-hand corner. It looks extremely simple, but trust me, I was out driving with them just recently. This is a very difficult layout. It's all about momentum and trying to keep that through the corners. If you slow down too much at any point in time, you might find yourself getting rear-ended. You also might find yourself just sending an understeering off into oblivion. These cars are very particular in the way that they like to be placed.
I think what also catches a lot of these guys by surprise, Mike, is the level of elevation change when you don't have any aerodynamics to lean on. Great example, turn 14 and 15 are normally what we'd call the water tower into Druid's corner. You just have that dip up over the hill, and then you slam it on the anchors. You've got absolutely nothing on those front tires, and then you're immediately loading essentially the entire car on your front too. So really trying to modulate both the brake and throttle and making sure you're trying to keep your platform as level as possible, and of course manage those track limits. Yes, you just got to keep 2 over the white line, but if you give it even a little bit of throttle here, these engines only making about 160 horsepower, but when you're going over the grass, even if you're just dropping 1 tire, you can very easily pivot, and Christina Ryan showing us that example. Back end just stepping up a little bit there as we work ourselves on the tail end of the hilltop straight, but this is exactly what I was talking about as we ride with Ryan on the roll hoop just over. Back of the car unloads a little bit here. Again, flick to the right of water tower, a little bit of a dip. And the normal reaction here is trail braking. Braking just when you're going over the dip could really, really upset the car. So making sure that you're keeping your platform as level as possible, that you're not putting too much of a load on the front or rears at the same time. All about being smooth and precise to keep all 4 wheels on the black stuff. Just over halfway home, Erwin now your quickest, with Wesser in second, just over a 10th behind. And Mike, another thing we kind of talked about just during practice, this field, a small field, but definitely a packed one, as in practice, I think just 1.7 the split from all of our fields. Obviously a little bit more spread out right now, but still plenty of time. I think as well, you consider the drafting being a major effect. Everyone looking for a potential advantage with the drafting partner. Have someone in front of you to try and punch a hole in this British air for you to maximize your straight line speed. Dirty air not being as much of a factor, so could potentially have a very good set of benefits if you got someone to punch the hole in front of you. An interesting set of, looked like a lockup right there for Wesser as well, but still no improvement for her. 11.539. That'll put her just a tick under a 10th still off of the pole position.
Yeah, and those are actually what you're seeing there is the gear changes with those cars. They take about an eternity to get into gear, and it's very, very detrimental to be shifting in these cars. That's why you see pretty much only 3 spots on the track where you're going to be shifting. You're going to be maintaining 3rd and 4th gear pretty much the entirety of this circuit. If you're having to go to 2nd, something probably ended up going wrong. And it's all about momentum, and trying to keep that going. Here's Madeline O'Connell down in 10th position here. She managed a nice little lap there, 1.9 seconds off the time. I noticed, though, Katharina Gleiser managing to gain a position over Jess Wesser. Now, Jess improved a few thousandths in the previous lap. I expect these two, we talk about working together. They are partners in real life. I expected to see them linking up out on track and playing a little bit of that slipstream game together, but it doesn't seem to be the case here. We see them battling it out, 10th separating them at the moment, thousandths separating them. Emma Dempsey miss a little bit further back right now with 0.18. That's going to be, well, less than the blink of an eye still. Blink of an eye being about 0.2 of a second. And about on cue, here goes Katharina, and here goes Jess, line astern.
You go just to under a 10th, and that is absolutely the difference that a little bit of extra, maybe 1 or 2 miles an hour on the straightaway could make to get yourself to the front. Annalise Riot not going to be a fan of these two blockading the raceway in front of her. Looks like they actually joined right in time. So that Polaroid machine, the 42, might actually get a little bit of benefits here. The little bit extra straight line speed, we'll have to wait and see. But again, both of these two on their outlap. Riot over half a second off a pole position. Will try and move forward. And you look at where Erin Wynn is now. You've got 3 cars within a 10th of her. Another half of the field essentially within half a second. The main priority right now for the 714 is to just get out there and build insurance. She's put in the banker lap. She's got something solid to lean back on. This is where you put everything out on track. Test the track limits, test the mechanical limits of grip, and just see how fast you can go. Our 2 pairs coming to the line now. And finally, we might get a really good example of how much that draft could really help. You're on the side pod of Katharina Geisler, giving a tow right now. Again, the true question we're seeing is how much can that straight line speed, how much can working together help? Improvement for Christina Ryan. That'll move her up into P5 on the inside of row number 3. Didn't look like Riot was able to get any improvement from that time. She'll stay P8 overall. I'm really liking the spacing here between these two, giving enough of a cushion to have that accordion effect, if you will, over the braking zone. But look at Wester able to close that gap over the straightaways. Needs to be careful here and make sure that the car in front isn't totally hurting him on the braking. They're going to nearly run into each other. Wester going to take a look to the inside now. And again, off the racing groove. Wester around with 10 minutes. Both of them going to lose their time. And heartbreak for Geisler and Wester, as now Emma Dempsey going to get a shot to potentially work their way into the front row. Checkered flag is out and will immediately freeze the field. That could have been a big time gain, Mike, but it will indeed be United. Sophie Erwin on the pole.
What a finish to qualifying there. That was almost pixel perfect. All they had to do was just let Jess by in easy manner, but no, she got loose at the apex and unfortunately ended up going deep, spinning round. Katharina lost it as well, and that is how the cookie crumbles sometimes, unfortunately. Let's take a look at the results here after qualifying. It is in fact Sophie Erwan up on pole position in her new United Sim team. Katharina Gleiser alongside Jess Wesser coming home in third, with Emma Dempsey miss bringing home fourth. Didn't quite get that final lap out at the end, was so close to doing it. Christina Ryan down in fifth position. Lucia Tosi, one of the fan favorites, in sixth. Sarah Dove, a previous Dream Team member as well, in P7. Annalise Riot in eighth position. Mika Ploeg down in ninth. Madeline O'Connell in 10th. And last but certainly not least is going to be Afrin.
Should be a good show. And again, I think you look back at that qualifying session, it was just a matter of some people being in the wrong place at the right time. I think you also realize there's still plenty of grip to be had. This track is going to evolve. This rubber is going to be laid down. And for some people, I think the comfort is going to grow as the day goes on. And again, a lot of people have ran this car at this track, but I don't think necessarily in the Foster's layout. I think we also do that on purpose to kind of test a lot of our drivers. We do that absolutely a lot in our Team America scouting, just to get people a little bit out of their comfort zone, try disciplines, try track layouts that they're not entirely comfortable with, but a little bit of adjustment on the fly for a lot of these guys. So we'll have to wait and see how that stacks up. But again, you look at Geisler and Wessler just behind those two with a great opportunity to potentially work together. Christina Ryan in the 80, I think, has a great opportunity to move forward as well. I think just a little bit of extra pace in that 80 machine, and you could have imagined that could be something different. Again, they'll be sharing row number 6 with Lucia Tassi, the Costa Rican. The Flying Scotsman, Sarah Dove, who we saw a handful of times last season, looking to move forward. Single lap pace is not everything, especially in a track car combination as draft dependent as this. So as we get onto our two 15-minute races, it is still absolutely anyone's game here, Mike.
Oh, absolutely. And we have some drivers out there that maybe don't have the most experience in this specific car track combo. However, they have a lifelong experience of racing. For example, Emma Dempsey. She's an Irish female sim racing driver that has been driving saloon cars since she was basically a junior. Grew up in motorsports in her family team, Cliff Dempsey Racing. Her brothers race, her dad raced. Seems like coming from an absolute lineage of high octane blood, if you would like to put it that way. Raced a lot during COVID, at least for sim racing, so that's how that's how Emma Dempsey ended up getting involved. And we also have, and this is the beauty of Screen to Speed, we also have some newer drivers when it comes to iRacing as well. For example, Afrin Sheed, as she is from the UAE, a civil engineer by profession, and just started sim racing about a year ago. So newer into it, dipping her toe into the water, started in the arcade racing games, and then eventually moved on over to the more sim racing side of things. I think, Jackson, a lot of us had that sort of similar trend for the career. I know that's how I started back in F1 2018, and that kind of trended me over to the ACCs and the iRacings that we now play on here today.
Yeah, for me, for sure, Forza Motorsport 7, but the lights are going on. That is a very quick start as round number 1 of Screen to Speed is very quickly underway. Hofelar immediately going to defend to the outside. We'll go middle now. Force commitment from Geisler and Wesser as we work our way through turn number 1 for the first time. They've gone single file very quickly. Tosi and Ryan, though, contesting for that 4th spot a little bit further back. Looks like Ryan trying to jam it up the inside, but not able to get there 2 by 2. And again, cold tires, handful of lockups there as we work our way back onto the straight for the first time and up Clay Hill. Still side by side. Christina Ryan will have to use the curbs to try and make that work. Is there enough heat in that Prismatic Motorsports machine? Dove and Riot going a little bit side by side as well. Gonna go fast, gonna go narrow here as we work our way into Druid's corner. Ryan still making it hang around the outside, and the Prismatic Motorsports driver moves on up into 4th. Big time commitment here to get on to the front half of the field early on. Now look at this, Tosi trying to make a dive on the inside of Sarah Dove. Is she able to get there? Not yet. Oh, big wiggle! Christina Ryan nearly going in the grass, nearly going around, but has to save it. This will give an opportunity for Sarah Dove in the Duracell machine. Big dive on the brakes. Riot on the inside will try and set up a switchback through 1. Ryan off into the grass again. That could be a track limit violation. The top 3 are running away early, but it is a melee from 4th on back. Dove trying to find any open space to make this work. Riot still has that opening to dive it up the inside. We'll think smarter of it, but she goes around now into turn number 3, nearly collects O'Connell, and we are seeing red to get us started here in Heat 1.
Yes, we certainly are. Talk about a knife fight in a phone booth, an absolute brawl early on. The results, Lucia Tosi up 2 positions, Sarah Dove up 2 positions, Micah Pluig up 2 positions, 1 position down somehow for Christina Ryan after, despite all of the effort that she put forth, trying to go like a lion on the hunt in the Serengeti, make the move stick. That little wiggle cost her massively at the end of the day. Another big gainer is Afrin Sheet as well. She has managed to go up in a 9th position, and we see there the gear changes happening. This is our front pack that is maybe not quite as electric at this current moment. However, you can see they're all working together. Lina Stern, Sophie leading Katharina, leading Jess. And I think that's going to stay this way for the time being. There's still plenty of time in this race to go, despite it being a 15-minute sprint. You don't want to fall back into the pack of, well, piranhas at this point, Lucia Tosi being at the head.
So again, 3-car breakaway to get us started. 3 minutes in, still plenty of action to come from heat number 1. And you get to potentially some teammate tactics here with Geisler and Wesser just behind. Really good run there going into Druid's corner. Geisler thinking smarter and decides to back out of it. Both of those 2 yellow and teal machines behind know that they've got plenty of time to study the enemy and make some moves. And I think you also consider race strategy. You don't want to make any expensive moves here. The more these 3 battle with one another, go offline, dive bomb on one another, that'll bring Tosi and Dove and all of these guys duking it out a little bit further back right into the mix. Geisler, though, starting to test the waters, enters wide there, capitalizing on the defensive position from Hofelar. Thought about maybe swinging it wide and crossing him up into turn number 1. But Hofelar doing a very good job there. Saw the potential move from Geisler, went middle of the track, and again, trying to make that blue machine out in front just as wide as humanly possible and make those moves difficult for the pair behind. Looked like a little bit of a shuffle further back. And all these guys are status quo. Wesser, what's she gonna do? Looked like she had a good run into Druids, but does not want to do anything to upset her teammate. Again, objective for these 2 are to work together. Wesser, though, still looking, and maybe she thinks she's the faster of the 2 of them. Maybe she wants to give an opportunity to challenge for the lead from Hofelar. She'll back out of it, though, going into Lodge.
We saw
Be
how
very interesting to see. Yeah, Mike.
Well, we saw how that tried to go in the previous qualifying session. Didn't quite work out necessarily well for Jess Wesser, so I think that was maybe a little bit of flashbacks, kind of giving her a bit of doubt. And again, for right now, it's a bit of not really needing to go that fast. Currently, let's look at lap times. At the top of the time charts right now is going to be Katharina Geisler, as she is 1:11.0. However, Sophie just about, well, a couple tenths slower. Oh my goodness, a little bit of a loose wiggle there, and that's going to be Jess Wesser getting a position for free. But more importantly for Sophie, she has now broken the slipstream and gotten a little bit of a gap. So can Hooplar now pull a gap over Jess Wesser and not worry about these two? The problem with this, so we often talk about in NASCAR, they have a lot of working together, slipstream passing. This track doesn't necessarily allow to work together in that fashion. You just have to keep on keeping on. But the slipstream will be absolutely crucial now to Katharina. A little bit of fuel saving as well going on. Shouldn't matter though in a 15-minute race.
Not at all, but what shocks me here is Geisler is indeed your fastest on track. You see that on the top left of your screen, 1:11.052. But again, just that little mistake gives the teammate the opportunity to slide on through into second place. But you make a really good point talking about the effect of the draft and how it's allowed these three to kind of break away. But our magic number, we always kind of say, both in the sim racing world and the karting world, where toe is equally as, crucial to stay in contention, about 0.8 is really where you need, where you start to see that toe effect really come into play. And the good news for Sophie Hoefler right now, she's just outside of it. So Wesser going to do everything she can in the 22 to try and pedal away and get back into that tractor beam range, but is just bouncing in and out of that line, in and out of that threshold right now. Needs to find a little bit more. Last time by about 0.3 quicker for Hoefler. We'll see how they are at this point as well for the other two, but you also can start playing the Jaws music for Lucia Tosi, because the Costa Rican for Galaxy team is on pace and a little bit quicker on pace as well. She could very much close this gap and make this a 4-car battle for the lead, as we're just now getting to halfway home in heat number 1. And it's another purple lap, I believe, for Wesser, a 1:10.961, a personal best at that, excuse me. But slowly but surely, Jessica Wesser starting to find herself into striking distance once again.
That was actually Katharina that set the fastest lap with a 1:10.8, so Sophie is going to be sweating like a cow at a burger joint here coming up, but she has a lot of work ahead of her to get this race sealed and get the nice pretty bow on top. And then on top of that, you have to go and do it again. There's still a second race after this one as well, another 15-minute bout. For right now, though, Katharina just trying to find anything she can to stay behind, work together. Jess and her are not going to clash, at least I don't suspect so. You can see it, Katharina breaking that slipstream a little bit early. That might just be to cancel the momentum out by the time she gets to the corner. I think that very well is the case. Now, we use a lot of these words, slipstream, draft, toe. What do they mean? For any of those maybe newer to motor racing, first off, a big warm welcome. We thank you for joining us, but let's explain some of those more terms that the racing folk might know and the common might not. Toe, slipstream, draft, all being the same terminology. Basically, think of it, you'll hear it a lot in Formula One. The car's punching a big hole in the air in front of the air. Well, I guess moving the air out of the way for the car behind. So there's less air pushing down on the car behind than there is the car in front, meaning the car behind can go just a little bit faster. Now, why is that an advantage? If the car in front is slower, well, it's slower, right? Yes. However, if the person is faster than you, you can use them as a little bit of a grip. You can stick with them for longer, and it makes overtaking a heck of a lot easier when you have a ton of momentum to go barreling into a braking zone and go late on the brakes and make a move stick. Now, we haven't quite seen that just yet, but desperate times have not quite come just yet. But I think we're getting to that point, Jackson, with about 5 minutes left. This is when we're going to start to see some desperation moves starting to come afoot.
I think if anything, it's going to come from Katharina Geisler, because she wants to maximize her points, and her teammate has not had any huge notable progress in closing that gap to the car out in front of Hoefler. Of course, the minute I say that, the chipping away has actually finally started to show some progress here. A little bit of a bobble in turn 1 for Hofelar, using a little bit too much curb. So that has actually closed the gap down to about 3/10. But the real question here is, how much is Geisler willing to sit around it? Again, the fastest one on track so far in heat number 1, a whole 10th quicker in single lap pace than her teammate. Does she want to potentially try taking that spot away from Wesser right in front? But right now we can see a great example of that slipstream. Wesser is tucked right behind Hofelar. We'll look to the outside into Druid's corner, but Hofelar shuts the door on the outside, arcs it wide as we work our way over the crest of the hill towards Warwick Bridge. It's been some phenomenal defense from Hofelar. And you see it there again, a little bit of a peak down low to the middle of the racetrack, covering from a big dive on the brakes. You saw a little bit of a puff of smoke there as the rears got locked up. The back side of the car stepped out a little bit. So starting to see a psychological crack in the armor right now for Hofelar, because she's had 2 cars in a rearview mirror essentially the entire race, and she is very much starting to feel that pressure now.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I wouldn't count her out just yet. Sophie has quite a lot of experience under her belt throughout years of sim racing. Here we go, though. This is where it's going to be put to the test as we get ready to head down to the braking zone. Are we going to see a move from Jess? No, not on this occasion. Oh, that's going to be, I think, Emma Dempsey, unfortunately. Oh, no, as she's found herself spun the wrong way in the right-hand corner as well here. Battle, though, at hand is going to be Jess towards Druids. The best opportunity, I think, after driving this track a little bit is going to be either the final corner or going to be that tight right-hander where you can kind of set up for Druids. A lot of it's going to be in this corner here, getting the momentum, getting the exit and the run down the penultimate straight, and getting to the inside. The outside's going to be a tough one to work. Sophie knows that, and she covers it off brilliantly, not allowing any light of day to be found. However, immediately back at it. That's going to allow Jess the better exit now. It's going to be down to Sophie, trying to go late on the brakes, but look at the overspeed. Look at the momentum. Katharina's even going to try to find her way through. Sophie, side by side at the apex, gets on the hammer. There's a wheel bang after. Down to the S's now. Somebody's going to have to give at this point. Is it going to be Sophie, who's led every single lap of this race up to this point, or is it going to be Jess, who's been on the hunt? Sophie with a favorable line. Jess is deep off the circuit, and that is going to be position gained for now Katharina Geisler. Sophie, the pressure may be off temporarily, but now a new form of pressure is on the back.
You go too wide for that long, and you only get the feeling that that was bound to happen. And just going a little bit too deep will push Wesser off. Here's a battle further back. We talked about Tossie trying to get into this party. She's found a duel of her own, though, because she's found the rear now of Dove. Your battle for the best of the rest. This is now coming out of Druid's corner and into really your main overtaking opportunity. This is what Mike talked about, Lodge corner. Tosi taking a look to the inside. No coverage from Dove, and a big lunge there. We'll see if Dove is able to cross her back up. No exit momentum, though, for Dove. Left it wide open, but in that little bit of a flick to the left, you get a little bit more of an advantage on track. This is almost a carbon copy of what we saw with your leaders going into turn number 1. 2 abreast, working through Oulton. A little bit wide there for Tosi. Gonna walk the tightrope, but Dove doing all she can on the high line to stay in contention. Tries squeezing it on the low line. Door is still open for Tosi, but thinks far smarter of it and backs out of it. Some brilliant battling, Mike. This is exactly what we were expecting here in round 1.
And that all came down to the first straight as well. We saw Lucia, she just shifted a little bit later. That was the only difference that was made there, and that resulted in that position being defended. Absolutely incredible, the level of decision. These cars, they look slow. They are slow. They only max out at around 100 and something plus miles an hour. But either way, they are absolutely brilliant when it comes to the side-by-side racing. And immediately look at this back again. Lucia Tosti trying to get the move done onto Sarah Dove. And this is gonna be the final attempt as well, potentially, as we get ready to begin our white flag lap.
Tosi knows fully ahead, move her up into P4, but this battle for the top position is all but over. The teammates 2 abreast. Geisler losing that spot on the inside. Little bit of a lockup there through Denton's, working our way into Foster's. Hofelar we'll absolutely have fireworks to see that going on in the rearview mirror, and you can see how quickly that gap has already built. As a result, half a second and change from the two teammates going at it in the first sector. Can either of them potentially go and close that gap? Or no, has the patience gone out the window? Geisler trying to swing back at Wesser as we work our way through Druids for the final time. Hofelar covering down low. Tail of the Dragon weaving down Warwick Bridge. No coverage, no defense from Hofelar, but neither of the two teammates further back are going to be able to get there. Hofelar working her way out. It will be a drag race to the line, but Sophie Heffelar in the 7-1-4 is going to take victory in race number 1 of the year. Wesser home in second, Geisler home in third, and further back our duel for fourth and fifth. Lucia Tosi is able to come out over the Scotsman of Dove in P5. Ryan had a phenomenal start, but just carried a little bit too much speed in the opening stanzas of the race. Went off track and will have to settle for P6. Ploeg in 7th and Riot in 8th. Some phenomenal battles though, Mike Nouse, to get us started in race number 1.
And this is just race 1 of 2. Keep that in mind. We have another one to go after this, and pretty much the stage is set, and the competitions are to be expected here. The battles are close, they're tight, and my goodness, we could not have had really more of an exciting debut here. Sophie, though, being the talk of the town, the pressure was put firmly on her shoulders, and she managed to hold it up the entire time. Great job from Sophie Huflar, as Jess Wesser managed to keep trying again, but of no success. Katharina Geisler managed 3rd position after all was said and done, trying to work together with Jess, as they often do day to day. Not going to happen here tonight. The 22 and the 32, 2nd and 3rd. Lucia Tosi coming home in 4th position despite the effort at the end. The charge was not quite enough, as Sarah Dove ended up getting tangled up with her. Those two together. Lucia managing to gain the ground over Sarah, though, finishing in 4th, Sarah in 5th. Christina Ryan, a great debut race as well, as she finishes in 6th position ahead of Micah Ploeg. Annalise Riot coming home in 7th position, 8th position for Afrin Sheed, Madeline in 9th, and 10th for Emma Dempsey. Plenty of opportunities, though, still to come, Jackson, as they get ready to grid up here. We have a brief little warm-up segment for them, a 5-minute cooldown, might you say, for the drivers to have a bit of a breather, which a well-earned one, to be fair. And with that being said, I think now is a great time to mention again all of our partners that do make what we do here possible, and our new partners as well. Again, Regadget being our main partner here for the time being. Regadget providing hardware opportunities and great solutions. If you have a PC sitting in a corner and you don't want to throw it away, send it over to Regadget. They'll pay for the shipping. They'll get the computer refurbished and off to somebody that can use it and get it in much better shape. There's some great deals as well that they offer on their website. You can head on over to regadget.com/gaming to see some of their gaming bundles as well. Handles iRacing amazingly. These are the PCs that we ran over in Indy for the Team America Talent Scout event race at PRI. It's got 3060, 32 gigs of RAM. You all know what the RAM crisis going on right now. $1,200 is a steep competition for a price. It is an absolute killer deal, and if you aren't heading over and getting that one, I don't know what you are doing. If you are in the market for a PC, Regadget, of course, being the solution you're looking for. Also, a massive thank you to all of our partners that we are live on. Of course, we're live on TV. Hello, Mom. We're on Roku, on Esports Edge, as well as on eClutch in the MENA region, so a massive thank you to all of them. Head on over to eclutch.tv to check them out, and of course, Roku, you can search up Esports Edge on Roku, and you can find us live there. And of course, our production behind the scenes, Tom Bryant with AK Esports UK, making all of these possible. Again, I'm Mike Noss, Jackson Lambros alongside of us. Jackson, that's enough babbling for that. My goodness, let's talk about race 1. What an exciting battle we've had. Through and through. Sophie started on pole, finishes on pole. Jess starts in 2nd, finishes in 2nd. Katharina starts in 3rd, finishes in 3rd. Not the most exciting when you phrase it that way. However, when you phrase it in the 15-minute battle that we had, I don't even know where to begin.
I think for Hofelar, the strat was really there because you knew you had two teammates right behind, and really just essentially letting those two kind of sort themselves out behind what was the main strat. I think the main real threat was them going too wide with about, call it 3 minutes to go into turn one. And I think an immediate big takeaway, we talked about this as well when we were doing our community days, very much in all low horsepower. If you want to defend, you just got to white line it, right? Cover down low, make everybody take the long way around. And in some cases that works. In Druids, though, that final corner, I think that's going to surprise a lot of people because it almost feels like looking at the track virtually, and my good friend Josh Bursch, who does a lot out at the track, can confirm, feels like there's a little bit extra banking the higher up you go on the track, so you might be able to roll a little bit more speed. And again, you just have that little kink on the front straightaway. We'll talk about that more, though, as we get into race number 2. But if you're able to go too wide into that final corner, it doesn't necessarily guarantee a position, but my reaction is it definitely feels like you're giving yourself an opportunity. And that's exactly what we've seen so many times, whether it was the battle for first, the battle for fifth. So again, side-by-side racing, definitely guaranteed here, but no positions really guaranteed to be taken.
Yeah, and the beauty of the final corner as well, if you do get to the inside and you are on the outside, as you said, you have the momentum to carry, but the next corner is a right-hander as well, and it's another very high-speed, almost mirror-imaged corner, similar, but more flat, I would say, not as much camber. So if you're able to get to that outside and carry the momentum around, you can almost hold the apex and not really allow your opponent the wiggle room to get the car fully gripped up and turned in, as these cars, we said before, they're based on momentum, and if you can keep that momentum rolling, you'll typically keep the position. That's exactly what we saw with Lucia Tosi and Sarah Dove when they were battling side by side. Pretty much carbon copy of what I just described, and I expect to see that again. As you said, Jackson, the low horsepower cars, this is just often how they roll, and this is why I love low horsepower cars, be it MX-5s, be it BMW M2s as we have for our next race, which, speaking of, why don't we talk about our next races as well, as we can pull up the calendar to see our future races here at Screen to Speed, as well as our Team America Talent Scout event. We have up next for the calendar, that's the Red Bull Ring and the GT4s, that's for Team America. So if you are an American and looking to get involved here, head on over to initesports.gg. You can get signed up for that. We also, of course, have what you're watching here live right now, or if you're a VOD watcher, welcome as well. Watching the Screen to Speed series, if you want to get involved, it is our all-women's series, and it is at Okayama in the M2s up next. After that, we head over to Tsukuba for the GR86s. I think that's a bit of a throwback to last year's calendar, as is this one, but just a little bit of a different layout. I love to see, as we talked about before, these different layout circuits, as well as, of course, the classics that we all know. The tried true, your Spa-Francorchamps and the FIA F4s, that's going to be an absolute classic, of course. But when it comes to the Screen to Speed calendar, again, all free content all the time. So if you are looking to get involved, it is as easy as possible. And if you are also having some issues with that, just head on over to the Discord. You can message one of our moderators, and we'll be able to help you out and get you sorted. Let's get into though here for race 2, as we have Sophie Hoeflar up on pole position once more. Jess Wessler alongside in second. Katharina Geisler coming home in third. Lucia Tosi back in fourth, and with a little bit more of a chance, I think, in this race to find a podium position. Sarah Dove in fifth, with Christina Ryan coming home in sixth. Micah Ploeg in seventh, with Annalise Riot coming home in eighth for the Team Cake. Afrin S in P9, with Madeline O'Connell down in 10th. And last but certainly not least on the grid is going to be Emma Dempsey Miss. We'll see how they stack up here as we get ready for the gridding soon, I would imagine. And we get into the race 2 in the final race for the night, Jackson.
Yep, immediately I want to say you got to watch out for Emma Dempsey. Definitely a little bit of a shocker to see her this deep in the field, but again, I think was unlucky in the opening corners, and yes, did get penalized for a jump start as well. So that put her 2 laps down, but definitely had the pace in qualifying. We'll see what the Irish can do from P11. Cool to see Afrin Sheed as well in P9. We'll see what they're able to do, as again, gained 2 positions, has just been slowly but surely working their way forward in the field. We'll see where they can go from P9. I do want to see where Christina Ryan can potentially go from 6th as well, dead middle of the field. But over Lucia Tosi and Sarah Dove could absolutely be a fight to look out for. But the 2 teammates of Wesser and Geisler, they're going to need to work together, or at least have a little bit more patience with one another, seemingly, if they have any hopes of snagging that lead from Sophie Hofelar. We'll have to wait and see, though. But our second heat just ready to get started. It's Hofelar and Wesser on the front row. But as we've seen, everybody has found dancing partners. Everybody has been able to find ways to get to the front. Can anybody bring anything? For Sophie Hofelar, going up to 5 red lights as the Volkswagen Revs builds. And for the second time and the last time of the day, we're going to go racing from Oulton Park. It's a great getaway from Hofelar, but no, actually, big wheel spin. That'll allow Tosi to immediately mosey on through. Watch Christina Ryan as well in the highlighter car. Will just try to send it on the inline and will make contact with one of the two teammates. Will wiggle once again in turn 1 and go wide. Wesser will be the first one into turn 1, but Hofelar has actually a horrendous start and gets sent down to P3. We work our way down into Foster's for the first time. And now continuing to hemorrhage speed is Geisler, Riot, and Dove trying to make a move through. The Scotsman of Dove able to shimmy on through for P4. And again, just like race number 1, it's carnage to get us started in race 2.
I will say that was not on my bingo card, with Sophie getting a massive bout of wheel spin at the start and having to contend with that. Look at the positions gained for Lucia Tosi, one of the fan favorites out in the chats on the Twitch and YouTubes. Up 2 positions early on. Sophie Hofelar down into 3rd. And also Katharina Geisler, the biggest loser, I think, out of the positions, down into 5th position. Has a lot of work to do to gain up. Emma Dempsey missed, by the way, up 5 positions up into 6th. Our biggest gainer thus far, and looking to make it a few more positions. I see a driver into pit lane. That's going to be O'Connell, unfortunately, serving, I think, a penalty. Lucia Tosi giving the scare. Oh, and there's contact. They hook tires. Lucia Tosi and Hofelar come together, and 2 of the fan favorites are going to be out early on, Jackson. That is an absolute calamity.
That'll unfortunately end the campaign for Hofelar to try and sweep it, and for Lucia Tosi, who was looking for victory in race 2, will unfortunately have her day come to an end on the outside of turn number 1 as well. We'll pick up this battle as well, though. Annalise Riot trying to fend off from Christina Ryan, who has had a plethora of adventures so far behind the wheel of the 42. Here goes Christina again, coming up the inside of Druids. Will try and clear her fellow countrymen. And a clean move there for Christina, someone who we regularly see on iRacing doing a little bit more of the stock car heavy stuff. Not too much of a shocker from the North Carolinian, but is definitely no stranger to the open wheel stuff. Has done a full season of Super Formula under her belt. I think is just starting to adjust to life with no wings once again. So that'll put Wesser up into the lead. Sarah Dove up into P2, but Emma Dempsey, 8 positions gained already here in just 2.5 minutes, is already on the hunt for the lead. Here she is trying to take a look to the inside of Dove into Foster's. Is Dove going to leave that gap open? She will, but she'll swing it wide. And oh, big wiggle there from Dempsey on exit of Foster's. This will give Geisler an opportunity as we work our way back up the hill. Dempsey not giving that opportunity to Geisler. She'll slot back in as we work our way under the Advan Bridge. This is not necessarily a part of the racetrack where you can make a move. It's certainly one where you can set it up, though. Again, that penultimate corner, really the sharpest and slowest on track, talking about turn 16, conventionally large corner. And if you're not able to fully make that move stick, going too wide is definitely possible. Both Dempsey and Dove having big time lockups. Dove looking like she got the worst of it, though, as now here comes Dempsey. She has the momentum, but again, that slight kink of Deer Leap back to the left is what keeps them in contention. But Dempsey able to fully clear. This will be 2 positions lost now as Dove tries to make that move or keep it over Geisler, but Geisler able to get that bottom spot on the podium.
Oh, that was a tight move from Katie. She managed just to sneak her nose just ahead. I think you could fit a playing card between the two, but not much more. My goodness, these cars do not bump draft well. I learned that one myself. I'm sorry, Steve. Either way, they will not have that issue, thankfully, on this occasion. Battling, though, ahead, as we have all throughout. Ryan and Riot back and forth, it seems, side by side. No, it's, I think, continuing the fight. It's, I think, a little bit of latency going on there. That's what that is. But Katharina giving it her absolute all for the time being. But one thing I will say with Emma Dempsey, take a breath now. You've gotten the positions. She is the biggest gainer. Pretty much last to first challenge is the goal for this one. She's up in the second right now. Take a breath. Calm it down and then get back on the hammer. I know she doesn't have much time to really breathe with Katharina Geisler breathing down her neck quite literally at the moment, but the pressure gets on, the nerves, they get shaky, and that's when mistakes start to happen. There's plenty of time left in this race, 10 minutes to go. Katharina and Emma, they need to work together to catch Jess. Now, I'm not sure Katharina wants Jess to be caught. That's the question that I'm going to be asking myself, and quite frankly, I don't know if that's even a question that she can ask herself right now as Sarah Dove has entered the conversation. Let's see what she can manage.
So it's been last to first for Emma Dempsey. She's got one spot away from making that possible, and Geisler and Dove making that very easy now for her to break away, as Geisler's going to try and make it stick up the inside, working up Clay Hill. I'm not sure how long that's going to be able to stick. Yeah, Geisler knows it and gets off throttle, lifts early, working into Druids. We'll see how the run is, though, coming out of Warwick Bridge. Dove not going to cover down low in that 177 Duracell machine, but Dove knows that Geisler's far from within striking distance just yet. But you gotta think, Mike, you still gotta keep an eye on Hofler, because we're not even halfway through, but she's worked herself back up into P6, about 2.5 seconds in closing to Riot, so she could definitely at least get a top 5 here. Dove now with a really good run, though. Dempsey covering down low. Dempsey going very wide. This will give the opportunity for Dove to immediately go on through, and just a little bit of an overdrive from Emma Dempsey. A rare mistake from the Irish is what gets her down into 4th, maybe 5th, as now Geisler's going to try and chuck it on the inside of Foster's. Up over the curbs goes the 17, but she's able to, at least for the time being, defend from Geisler.
A brilliant move. Sarah really taking advantage there of that situation. Now, unfortunately for Emma Dempsey, she is feeling the weight of the world on her shoulders right now, like the mythical Titan Atlas once did. Through Druids, this is not where you want to be if you're in either one of their shoes, to be honest. Backing out, very smart move. Katharina's going to live to tell the tale and fight another day. Can she make it stick in the final corner, though? Through Lodge and up into the first corner is going to be the best chance. No, Micah Ploeg with a bit of a spinner. Unfortunately, that's such an easy move to do. I did that so many times in our testing session. Thankfully, I think she kept it out of the barrier, or a very light tap at most. So she will be back underway and without too much issue. Just a little bit of a hit to the pride, unfortunately, which we've all been there.
P6 in qualifying, and again, I would say for a lot of our rookies, this is still definitely an entry-level car and a club-level track, but this is as close as you can get to a trial by fire for a lot of our new drivers, because these are low-horsepower cars, Mike. They are incredibly tough to control. Engine behind the driver, you've got no assists in terms of traction control and ABS. As we watch the battle continue, we'll pick that up again as Emma Dempsey trying to swing back on Dove. Inside on Clay Hill. We are going to go too wide again, and Dempsey finds the momentum in the 17, a move we have not seen all day long, but the 17 is able to make that move stick on the inside before she even got to Druid's corner, is in that runner-up spot. But somehow all this battling has given a phenomenal gap for Wesser out in front for nearly 5 seconds between the two of them. Now Dempsey going deep again on the brakes. Dove and Geisler gonna move on through for 2nd and 3rd. Now somehow Dove gets really poor on the exit. I think missed a shift, went off the limiter, and Dempsey will move up into 2nd, Geisler into 2nd. These three shuffling like a deck of cards, and we're not done yet. Coming onto the avenue and into Denton's. Dempsey trying the inside. The two make contact. Oh my goodness. Sliding in the grass, Dempsey and Geisler will leave Dove uncontested for P2.
And the stewards thought that they were going to have an easy day today. Nope, not on this occasion. That is going to be certainly one that's going to be looked at after the race. Katharina Geisler getting a meatball flag, meaning that she has to come back into pit lane within the next 3 laps, or she will receive a disqualification. But I'd imagine she's coming in on this lap because the damage is absolutely massive. Was there enough space? We'll have to see in the post-race. That's going to be pretty much down to the stewards, I think. Unfortunately, it's a tough, controversial one. But the result is going to be, well, two drivers pretty much done for the day. Emma Dempsey still out on track, though, 5th position for right now. Oh, goodness, make that a 4th position
gosh.
as Sarah Dove has offered herself as a little bit of a spin, and I think that was a completely unforced error on top of it. This is a battle of mistakes right now, Jackson, and who's going to make the most? Currently, Sophie Hooflar, who I didn't even think had a car that was in a good enough condition to make it to the checkered flag, is in 3rd position and looking to hunt for a 2nd now. In fact, maybe just going to make it a 2nd immediately with Annalise Riot up into 3rd. Either way, Annalise has to be thrilled with this result. 5 positions gained for her. Emma Dempsey, 7 positions gained. And Jess, the biggest gainer of all, as she is just smiling looking in her rearview mirror with this 8.1 second gap.
That is big time commitment there from Hooflar to make that stick into Druids. But again, these cars, unshockingly, very prone to mistakes. Low horsepower, but even lower grip. Very, very skinny tires, and the engine in the back, very easy to swap ends. Emma Dempsey now trying to make a move on the inside of the American Riot. This is the prime position we've been talking about into Lodge Corner. Dempsey's got the hot spot on the inside and will fully clear further back. But you make that combination, Mike, of cars that are very difficult to drive on the edge and a track that is very bumpy, has plenty of elevation change, and will not be nice to you if you just carry a little bit of extra speed. It's not too much of a shocker that we've seen too many guys go around. And again, yes, it's been very, very good wheel-to-wheel racing, but these are entry-level race cars. They don't have side pods. If you're going wheel-to-wheel and you hit each other, you are locking wheels, and at least one of you is getting a little bit of hang time. And that's why we've seen so many people not just go around, but get shown that black and orange meatball flag. Damage where they need to at least come in the pits and potentially end their race. It's what's caught out Ryan. It's what's caught out Plowig. It's why we've seen Geisler now drop back to P9 as she's nurturing that damage. So a lot of guys getting caught out simply as the victim to wheel racing. And that's not necessarily, I want to say there is a lesson in that, because yes, you can go wheel to wheel racing, but if you're consistently going too wide corner after corner, it's just a matter of time before you touch. So I think the big lesson for a lot of these guys, especially in the mid pack, if you've got pace, you got to make that move stick immediately and do everything you can. If you think you're maybe a little bit too deep, get off throttle, back out, try again. But if you're consistently going too wide corner after corner, you're fighting with fire. And for half of this field, it seems like they've gotten burnt.
Yeah, and that's sort of just discretion being the better part of valor. Like Icarus, you fly too close to the sun, eventually you're going to get your wings burnt or clipped. We've seen that a few times. I mean, these cars, they don't have any wings to talk about, but that's beside the point. No sticky outy bits, no fancy schmancy aerodynamical anythings, to be honest. They are basically torpedoes with wheels attached to them. That's about it in terms of their entire construction. With an engine strapped on the back, I guess you could also throw in. But one thing I want to talk about, oh my goodness, Emma Dempsey going for a move on to Sophie Hooflar through Druids. This is a high commitment, high speed overtake, and I think Sophie just kind of let that one happen, looking to not get into a collision. Very smart driving, but Emma Dempsey now up into 2nd as a result. Can she hold it? Annalise Riot, I love where she's at right now. I think she's doing a stellar job. She needs to, I think she's downshifting through Druids, and that's one thing I think she can avoid right now. But other than that, she's just locked onto the back of them, and if these two make a mistake, she's going to find herself not just in a podium position, but in 2nd place when all is said and done. And she's just sitting and waiting, and Emma Dempsey goes for a cutback. Oh goodness, Annalise Riot is going to send it 3 wide into the S's. And backs out. Okay, side by side they continue, though, as Sophie is going to get that position back. A nice move there. Emma Dempsey overcommitted into the S's, and unfortunately Sophie, with just picking the racing line, manages to get the job done.
Just sitting in the back waiting to pick up the scraps of whatever battle was left, but we are far from over. Here's Riot trying to swing it on the back of Druid's corner, nearly exactly where we saw it earlier on. Very rarely in any discipline do you see 2 cars going wide through there, but that's exactly what Hooflar did to begin this conversation and get to the front of the field. She finds herself now in P2. It's been a runaway from Wesser, but your conversation for the best of the rest in P2 back to P4 is far from over. The white flag for Wesser in the entirety of this field. Hopeful are now getting a little bit of breathing room between the two of them. If Riot and Dempsey continue to go too wide, they'll break away. But that's not going to be the case. Dempsey with a good run. Coming through Denton's and into Cascades. Is there going to be a move? She takes a look to the inside, but they are bumper to bumper, nose to tail. Another late look to the inside. Riot tries to go deep. She'll go off into the grass nearly. Monster trucking over the curbs, through Foster's, up the hill for the final time. This will be a prime position for Dempsey to try and take P2. Looks to the outside. Is there enough momentum for the Irishman to make that move stick? It'll be the long way around into Druid's corner, and big time commitment. Hopeful are covering down low, not giving them the opportunity. Dempsey still back in line, but still good momentum. But out in front, the German, Jess Wesser, the one that got away from her, will be the one that she'll get and fight rightfully so for in race number 2. She'll take the back half here at Oulton Park, and Hopeful are able to make that move stick. There's trouble. Emma Dempsey going around. Must have locked up or made contact into Druid's corner. Hopeful are gonna go back onto the podium, and Riot will join him on the bottom step. Dempsey in P5, Dove in 4th.
A brilliant showing. Annalise just getting onto the bottom step of the podium at the very, very closing moments. And Emma Dempsey, a brilliant drive. Let's just give credit where credit is due. She put not just her heart, she put her soul, she put her energy, her fire, every single ounce of effort that she had, she gave here in this race tonight and tried to be at the best, at the top. But unfortunately, at the final corner, Jackson, it was a bridge too far, or a deer leaps too far, unfortunately, and she flew too close to the sun and then got burnt. Either way, P5, still a great finish.
Yep, and again, a lot of lessons to be taken from this opening race. But you look at Jess Wesser, who was just able to ride the wave of that chaotic opening lap, and again, just let everyone battle and crash behind her, and she runs away with it uncontested and nearly goes flag to flag to be your race 2 leader. Phenomenal example out in front there, but some great drives as well. Annalise Riot, who we did not expect to be on the podium, was able to pick up the scraps of Hofelar and Dove battling, and will join Hofelar on the podium.
Very much so. And now I'm currently just doing a little bit of commentator's math in my head, because I'm 99.9% sure that Sophie and Jess have tied. But apparently I'm getting Sophie first and Jess second. So this might actually even come down to penalties, and as well as fastest lap potentially. Sophie first and second, and Jess is, or first, Sophie first, Jess is going to be in second. So that's how this is going to fall at the end of the night here. Very close though, very, 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 very close. And let's give some credit to Sophie. Got tangled up with Lucia Tosi at the beginning. Again, I didn't even think she had a machine to make it to the checkered flag. Proving me wrong in more ways than one, she managed to climb the ranks back up to the second step of the podium. And Emma Dempsey at the very end, giving it her heart and soul, contested Sophie. Almost gave Jess the win. It was so close, but a battle of tenths, I think, is an understatement.
Yep, and that's exactly the kind of battling we've expected it to see here in Screen to Speed. Just wheel-to-wheel racing going down to the very end. But again, a lot of these guys will be kind of kicking themselves over what could have been the difference. Whether it was, you know, making the wrong move at the wrong time, picking your battles, going too wide for too long, or just plain old messing up on your own. So a lot of mistakes for a lot of these girls. And again, targeting people of all skill groups, of all backgrounds, to come and give this series a try. And that's what we're trying to do. One, curate a community of female sim racers, but two, give a lot of people a learning experience. Because we're spanning from some guys even knocking on and potentially getting their black belts and going running in pro series. But we've got some rookies. Heck, we've got a rookie on the podium in the form of Annalise Riot. So anything can happen is the main learning lesson here in Screen to Speed, and anybody can come in and race clean, race fair, and have a great time, as you can see.
Absolutely. Now, we are going to have some interviews here very shortly. We'll be getting to that here in a minute. But before we do get to that, I would like to take a final time to thank all of the people that make this championship and all of our championships here at Eden Esports possible. Of course, a massive thank you to our title sponsor, Regadget. Recycle, renew, and refurbish. That is their brand. They're committed to giving electronics a second life and ensuring nothing harmful ends up in landfills. And if you want to send your PC into them, head on over to their website, regadget.com. And if you're looking for a gaming PC, they have some amazing deals on their website. Head on over, check them out. You can get a solid build for an extremely affordable price. Again, that is going to be regadget.com/gaming if you're interested in their gaming setups. And that, again, is going to be a PC more than capable of handling iRacing if that's what you want to get into, or any of the sim titles at the current moment. We also have, of course, we're live on TV. Massive thank you to Roku as well as Esports Edge for putting us up on the platform. And, of course, thank you to all the viewers that are watching and on eClutch as well. A massive thank you to them. Let's, though, as we get ready to get into the interviews here, Jackson, I'll let you take control as we have with us our race winner. It is going to be Sophie Hoeflar.
As we stand by with Sophie Hoeflar and I don't want to say boring race one for you, Sophie, but you run away with it to open things off, and then you drive from the tail end of the field to get it done in race number 2. Talk to me about that second race, because it was chaos to get started. How were you able to crawl back, though, in that second race?
I think she's
muted. Sophie, you're muted.
We'll get with her very, very briefly, but yes, I think that is a great question to start with, Jackson.
I think we'll try that one more time. And as we're doing that, again, reminder, still plenty of action to come for Screen to Speed next month, March 15th. We'll be running Okayama International Circuit and the M2 CSR, and then almost exactly a month after that again, it'll be April 19th in the GR86s at Tsukuba Circuit. Mike mentioned it earlier, but again, the target here, keeping things accessible with our free track combo, or our free combos in terms of ones that are all available for our tracks and cars. But again, some good combos, VIR and Formula V. So we'll be back in a different track with the Formula V's, MX5s at Snetterton, and then we'll end the year, or go to halftime of the year, if you will, Mike, with the F1600s at Oran Park. So pretty much, again, another short technical circuit on an open wheel entry level car to get us started. Should be a good season. Let's try that one more time. Sophie, can you hear us? It's Mike and Jackson in the broadcast booth. Oh, I think it's trying to work. We're trying to do that one more time. Oh, I think we got it.
Yep.
There we go. Sophie, phenomenal drive for you. You run away with it in race number 1. It seemed like it was going to be a hard comeback drive in race number 2. You got it done. Talk to me about that second race, though, because that was a Viking comeback to get from essentially last to second place.
Yeah, that second race, I don't know what happened. Got tangled with Lucia, and then we couldn't release from each other. And then, yeah, just driving angry, as you say. Just, yeah, like I should have been fighting with Jess for the win.
Who do you want to thank for winning here in week number 1?
Well, thank you guys for making this available for us. For my wife, Yvonne, for actually allowing me to race. And, you know, everybody else that's helped along the way.
Your race 1 winner. Congratulations, Soph.
Thank you very much.
And that'll be it for us for round number 1. It's been an action-packed race weekend, as we mentioned, Mike. But the great thing is, for Init Esports and for Screen to Speed, the action continues.
Yes, it certainly does, as we can take a look at our calendar here, as well as not just Screen to Speed, but also Team America Talent Scout event coming up this March 1st. That's going to be the Red Bull Ring and the GT4s. And as you mentioned, Jackson, we have up next for our all-women's series for Screen to Speed, our Okayama International Circuit up next for the BMW M2s. It's going to be a bit of an understeery car, but a bit of a very tight and battly track. This is going to be an absolute electric one. I cannot wait to see. Toyota GR86 is at Tsukuba. After that, that's going to be an absolute thriller, and VIR in the V's. What a better combination than you could find. Either way, we also have, of course, with our Team Americas, we have plenty of different championships, manufacturers, makes to go through. My personal favorite of the calendar, if there's one race that I had to pick that you should make in the Team Americas, well, it's all of them, but if there is one in particular, it's going to be the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace in the LMP2s. I love me some Interlagos, and I love me some LMP2s, and I cannot wait to see what that car track combo has to offer. And this is only our 6-month calendar, as Jackson alluded to. We have plenty of other races to come after this and in the second half of the year. Different styles, different formats, different cars, ovals, you name it, we're going to have it probably. Maybe we'll see, probably not. The dirt stuff is questionable. We'll talk about it. But either way, it is going to be an absolutely electric one, and it looks like, I think we are going to be having any more interviews with this, or I think we are going to be getting ready here, Jackson. So before we do get ready to close this one out, Jackson, first off, a massive thank you to yourself, and of course, a massive thank you to our production team behind the scenes, Mr. Tom Bryant with AK Esports UK, making all of these lovely pictures and audios possible. But Jackson, what would you like to close on here tonight?
Going to be a hard pivot as these guys jump into the sports cars and get ready for Okayama. Couldn't be more of an opposite in terms of what we had this weekend. It's going to be wide, very fostering of wheel-to-wheel racing, but in a different way. Heavy braking zones, long straightaways, a lot of stop-start. And again, as you mentioned, Mike, very understeery cars, but in terms of braking in the straightaways, you have that whole suite of electronics to lean on. And again, we talk about our whole target of why we're doing these two different programs, Team America and Screen to Speed, giving people the opportunity to try out different disciplines, different track car combinations that they might not be normally used to. So it's given everybody a lot of opportunities. And again, one thing we haven't mentioned, if you'd like to have more information on how we run our organization or want to come race with us in it, Esports GG /car sim for all of our different series, as well as school competitions at the high school and collegiate level. But regardless, Mike, plenty of action to come here in the world of Init Esports.
Yes, there certainly is. On top of that, we have our Wednesdays as well. We have our Just for Fun series. If you are just looking to do some practice, just get out into a Discord and community and just have a little bit of fun. Join our Discord. That is going to be in esports.gg. Again, you can find a link to our Discord and join it and get involved with us, because we like to have fun here and have a good time. Also, though, before we do close this one out here tonight, we are going to say a massive thank you to our partners one last time, Regadget, Esports Edge, and Roku, and of course eClutch as well. On that note, and AK Esports and iRacing. But on that note, folks, we are going to be closing that one out here tonight. I hope absolutely everybody had a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. Join us next time and join us on Wednesdays, as we will be back. But in the meantime, again, hope everyone has a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning. Thank you, and good night. Bye.